What if death isn't the end, but a gateway to profound revelations? Velma Thomas's heart stopped beating for 17 hours, leaving doctors certain she was gone forever. Yet, against all odds, she returned with a message that challenges everything we thought we knew about life and death. In this extraordinary tale of resurrection and revelation, we'll explore the inexplicable journey of a woman who crossed the threshold between worlds. Prepare to question your beliefs as we unravel the mystery of Velma's 17-hour absence and the cosmic truth she brought back with her. Velma Thomas's day began like any other in her quiet West Virginia town. The 59-year-old grandmother went about her morning routine, sipping coffee and chatting with her husband Scott. Little did she know that in mere hours her world would be turned upside down. As Velma prepared lunch, a sudden, crushing pain seized her chest. She gasped, clutching at her heart as the room began to spin. Scott, hearing her distress, rushed to find his wife collapsed on the kitchen floor. Panic gripped him as he frantically dialed 911, his voice trembling as he pleaded for help. Within minutes, sirens pierced the air. Paramedics burst through the door, their faces grim as they assessed Velma's condition. Her skin had taken on an ashen hue, her breathing shallow and labored. Time was of the essence. They swiftly loaded her into the ambulance, sirens wailing as they sped towards the hospital. In the emergency room, a team of doctors and nurses swarmed around Velma. Her condition was critical. She had suffered a massive heart attack. The medical staff worked tirelessly, administering a cocktail of medications and attaching her to various machines. The rhythmic beep of the heart monitor filled the room, a tenuous lifeline. As hours passed, Velma's condition continued to deteriorate. Despite the doctor's best efforts, her body was failing. Her heart, weakened by the attack, struggled to pump blood effectively. Organ systems began to shut down one by one. The medical team exchanged worried glances, their faces etched with concern. Then, the unthinkable happened. The steady beep of the heart monitor suddenly flatlined, its shrill tone piercing the air. Velma's heart had stopped beating. The room erupted into a flurry of activity as doctors and nurses fought to revive her. They performed CPR, administered electric shocks, and pumped her full of medication. But Velma remained unresponsive. After what seemed like an eternity, the lead doctor stepped back, his face grave. He glanced at the clock, noting the time of death. Velma Thomas had been declared clinically dead. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the quiet sobs of a nurse. But the ordeal was far from over. As the medical team prepared to inform the family, they realized the full extent of the damage. Velma had been without oxygen for an extended period. Even if they could somehow restart her heart, the prognosis was grim. The doctor's words were heavy with sorrow as he delivered the devastating news to Velma's family. There was a high probability of irreversible brain damage. As night fell, the hospital corridor echoed with the sound of muffled cries. Velma's family gathered, their faces etched with grief and disbelief. They clung to each other, struggling to comprehend the sudden loss of their beloved matriarch. Little did they know that this tragic day was just the beginning of an extraordinary journey that would challenge the very boundaries between life and death. In the depths of sorrow, a flicker of hope can ignite the most extraordinary events. As Velma's family prepared to say their final goodbyes, they were unaware that the boundary between this world and the next was about to blur in ways they could never have imagined. What happened next would challenge not only their faith, but the very laws of nature itself. Tim, Velma's son, stood motionless by his mother's bedside, his eyes fixed on her still form. The bond between them had always been unbreakable, a connection that transcended the ordinary mother-son relationship. She had been his confidant, his moral compass, and now, in the sterile silence of the hospital room, Tim felt as if a vital part of himself was slipping away. The family gathered around Velma, their faces etched with disbelief and anguish. The rhythmic hum of life support machines filled the air, a cruel reminder of the tenuous thread holding Velma to this world. Nurses moved quietly among them, their voices hushed as they prepared for the inevitable. The decision to remove life support weighed heavily on everyone's hearts, a burden of responsibility no one had ever wanted to bear. As the machines were disconnected, a wave of grief washed over the room. Family members took turns saying their goodbyes, their whispered words of love and gratitude mixing with quiet sobs. Tim watched, his mind a battlefield of conflicting emotions. He clung desperately to his faith, praying for a miracle, even as the harsh reality of medical science told him it was futile. Hours passed, each minute stretching into an eternity of sorrow. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy with memories shared and tears shed. Family members came and went, but Tim remained steadfast, unable to tear himself away from his mother's side. He held her hand, its coolness a stark contrast to the warmth he remembered from childhood. A friend arrived, Velma's well-worn Bible clutched in her hands. The sight of the familiar book sent a fresh wave of emotion through the room. As passages were read aloud, the words seemed to hang in the air, offering a glimmer of solace amidst the overwhelming grief. Tim listened, his heart aching with each verse that spoke of eternal life and divine love. Despite the growing certainty that Velma was gone, Tim refused to leave. Something deep within him, beyond reason or explanation, kept him rooted to the spot. Family members gently tried to persuade him to rest, to take a break from the vigil, but he shook his head, his eyes never leaving his mother's face. As night fell, casting long shadows across the room, an inexplicable shift began to occur. The air seemed to thicken, charged with an energy that defied description. Tim, exhausted from hours of emotional turmoil, blinked hard, unsure if his mind was playing tricks on him. But as he focused on Velma's face, he could have sworn he saw the faintest flicker of movement. The boundary between life and death, once thought impenetrable, was about to be challenged in a way that would shake the foundations of everything they believed. In the quiet darkness of the hospital room, as hope dwindled to its faintest ember, the stage was set for a miracle that would defy all logical explanation. 17 hours after being declared clinically dead, Velma's body was about to do something that medical textbooks claimed was impossible. As Tim kept his lonely vigil, could the bond between mother and son transcend the very boundaries of mortality? The hospital room was shrouded in darkness, the silence broken only by the soft hum of machines and Tim's occasional whispered prayers. He sat slumped in a chair beside his mother's bed, his eyes heavy with exhaustion but refusing to close. The weight of grief and hopelessness pressed down on him, yet something inexplicable kept him rooted to the spot. As the night wore on, Tim's gaze remained fixed on Velma's still form. In the dim light, he could barely make out the contours of her face, so familiar, yet now eerily peaceful. He reached out, gently clasping her hand, its coolness a stark reminder of the life that had seemingly slipped away. Suddenly, Tim felt something, a twitch so faint he wasn't sure if he had imagined it. His heart raced as he leaned closer, scrutinizing every inch of his mother's face. There it was again, the slightest flutter of an eyelid, a barely perceptible movement of her fingers. Tim's breath caught in his throat, torn between hope and the fear of false optimism. Just then, a nurse entered the room for her routine check. As she approached the bed, her eyes widened in disbelief. The monitor, which had been silent for hours, now showed a weak but unmistakable pulse. The nurse's hands trembled as she double-checked the equipment, her mind struggling to comprehend what she was seeing. Within moments, the quiet of the night was shattered. The room erupted into a flurry of activity as medical staff rushed in, alerted by the nurse's urgent call. Doctors and specialists crowded around Velma's bed, their voices a mix of confusion and excitement as they assessed her condition. The lead physician, his face a mask of bewilderment, ordered a series of tests. As the results came in, the impossible became undeniable. After 17 hours without oxygen, Velma's brain was showing faint but distinct electrical activity. It defied everything they knew about the limits of human physiology and the irreversible damage of prolonged clinical death. As the medical team worked feverishly, Tim watched in awe as color slowly returned to his mother's cheeks. Her chest began to rise and fall with shallow breaths, each one a miracle in itself. Velma Thomas, declared dead nearly a day ago, was coming back to life before their very eyes. The next hours were a blur of medical interventions and cautious optimism. Velma's vital signs gradually strengthened, her body seemingly reawakening cell by cell. The medical staff exchanged theories in hushed tones, their scientific training at odds with the unexplainable event unfolding before them. As dawn broke, casting a soft light through the hospital room window, the full magnitude of what had transpired began to sink in. Velma Thomas had crossed a threshold that modern medicine deemed impassable. Her revival challenged the very foundations of what was thought possible, opening a Pandora's box of questions about life, death, and the mysteries that lie between. The medical team now faced a daunting task to explain the inexplicable. As they huddled in intense discussion, one thing became clear. Velma's case would push the boundaries of medical understanding and raise profound questions about the nature of consciousness itself. Little did they know, the most extraordinary part of Velma's journey was yet to be revealed. In the quiet of the hospital room, the lead doctor stood frozen, his eyes wide with disbelief. Dr. Thompson had seen many things in his decades of medical practice, but nothing could have prepared him for this moment. Velma Thomas, a patient he had declared dead just hours ago, was now showing unmistakable signs of life. The impossible was unfolding before his eyes, challenging everything he thought he knew about the limits of human physiology. As the medical team sprang into action, Velma's vital signs began to improve gradually. Her heart rate strengthened, blood pressure stabilized, and oxygen levels slowly climbed. Each incremental change was meticulously noted, graphed, and analyzed. The doctors and nurses moved with a mixture of urgency and caution, their actions precise but tinged with an air of wonderment. Word of Velma's miraculous revival spread quickly through the hospital. Her family, who had been steeling themselves for the finality of loss, now found themselves thrust into a whirlwind of emotions. Joy, disbelief, and cautious hope intermingled as they gathered once again at her bedside. Tim, who had refused to leave his mother's side, clasped her hand tightly, his tears now a mixture of relief and lingering fear. Despite the positive signs, Dr. Thompson knew they weren't out of the woods yet. He explained to the family the potential complications they might face. Prolonged oxygen deprivation typically led to severe, irreversible brain damage. The possibility of Velma waking up with significant cognitive impairment or in a vegetative state loomed large. The doctor's words cast a shadow over the room, tempering the family's elation with stark reality. Hours ticked by, each moment charged with anticipation. The medical staff monitored Velma closely, watching for any sign of consciousness. Her family took turns sitting with her, speaking softly, sharing memories, and urging her to wake up. The atmosphere in the room oscillated between hope and fear, the unknown stretching out before them like a vast, uncharted sea. Then, as the first light of dawn began to filter through the hospital window, Velma's eyelids fluttered. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on her face. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, her eyes opened. Tim leaned in, his voice trembling as he called out to her. "Mum? Mum, can you hear me?" What happened next left everyone in the room stunned. Velma's eyes, far from being vacant or confused, were clear and focused. She turned her head slightly, meeting her son's gaze. Her lips moved, forming words that no one expected to hear. "Tim," she said, her voice weak but unmistakably lucid. "I wasn't here. I could see everything, but I wasn't in pain. I wasn't afraid. I was free." The medical team exchanged glances of astonishment. Not only was Velma conscious, but she was displaying a level of cognitive clarity that defied all expectations. Dr. Thompson quickly began a series of basic tests, asking her simple questions about her identity and surroundings. To his amazement, Velma answered each one correctly, showing no signs of confusion or impairment. As the reality of Velma's condition began to sink in, a new question arose. If she hadn't been here, as she claimed, where had she been? The atmosphere in the room shifted, charged with a sense of anticipation. It was clear that Velma's journey had not ended with her clinical death. Something extraordinary had occurred during those 17 hours, something that would challenge the boundaries between science and the supernatural. "I wasn't here," Velma had said. Those words hung in the air, heavy with implication. As her family and medical staff leaned in, Velma began to recount an experience that defied conventional understanding. She described leaving her physical body, floating above the hospital bed where her lifeless form lay. From this vantage point, she could see everything in the room with startling clarity. She watched as doctors worked frantically to revive her, observed her son Tim praying by her bedside, and noticed details about the medical equipment that she couldn't possibly have known. But Velma's journey didn't end there. She spoke of being drawn towards a brilliant light, unlike anything she had ever seen before. This light, she explained, was warm and welcoming, enveloping her in its radiance. As she moved closer, Velma felt an overwhelming sense of love and peace wash over her. The pain and fear that had gripped her during her heart attack melted away, replaced by a profound feeling of serenity. In this realm of light, Velma encountered spirits of her deceased loved ones. Though they didn't speak, their presence was undeniable. "They were waiting for me," she said, her voice filled with wonder. These familiar presences seemed to guide her, offering comfort and reassurance as she explored this new reality. As Velma recounted her experience, those gathered around her bed listened in awe. The medical staff exchanged puzzled glances, their scientific training at odds with the inexplicable account they were hearing. Tim, still clutching his mother's hand, felt a mix of emotions: relief at her recovery, amazement at her story, and a growing sense that something truly extraordinary had occurred. Velma then spoke of feeling compelled to share a message, a truth that had been revealed to her during her time beyond. The anticipation in the room grew palpable as she paused, searching for the right words to convey the profound insights she had gained. "There's so much more for us to understand about love, forgiveness, and faith," Velma finally said, her voice gaining strength. "We take so much for granted here, but it's all connected." She went on to describe a cosmic tapestry of interconnectedness, where love was the fundamental force binding all of existence together. Forgiveness, she explained, was not just a virtue, but a necessary act for spiritual growth and healing. As Velma shared her revelations, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The initial skepticism gave way to a sense of wonder and introspection. Even the most scientifically minded among them found themselves questioning their long-held beliefs about the nature of consciousness and the possibility of an afterlife. The impact of Velma's story began to ripple outward. Nurses, who had been present during her miraculous revival, spread the word throughout the hospital. Soon, other patients and their families sought out Velma, drawn by the hope and comfort her experience offered. Her room became a beacon of solace for those grappling with grief and fear, a place where the boundary between life and death seemed less absolute. As news of Velma's extraordinary journey spread, it became clear that her experience would challenge not just individual beliefs, but entire paradigms of thought. The implications of her story reached far beyond the walls of the hospital, touching on fundamental questions about the nature of existence itself. In the wake of Velma's extraordinary account, the hospital buzzed with an energy that transcended the usual clinical atmosphere. Medical staff who had witnessed her miraculous revival found themselves grappling with a profound sense of awe. Nurses who had tended to Velma during her 17-hour absence now listened intently to her description of events that seemed to defy rational explanation. As word of Velma's experience spread through the hospital corridors, it ignited a spark of hope in the most unexpected places. Patients fighting their own battles with illness and families grappling with the prospect of loss found themselves drawn to her story. It was as if Velma's journey had opened a window to a realm beyond the physical, offering a glimpse of something greater than the pain and uncertainty that often permeated the hospital walls. For grieving families, Velma's account became a source of profound comfort. Those who had recently lost loved ones found solace in her descriptions of a peaceful realm filled with love and light. Her words about the presence of deceased family members waiting to welcome her resonated deeply, offering a balm to raw emotions and providing a sense of continuity beyond death. As days passed, a steady stream of visitors began to flow into Velma's room. Some were skeptics, drawn by curiosity and a desire to challenge the inexplicable. Others were believers, seeking confirmation of their own faith or hoping to glean some insight into the mysteries of the afterlife. Velma received them all with a serene patience, sharing her story with a quiet conviction that seemed to touch even the most doubtful hearts. The reactions to Velma's message were as diverse as the individuals who heard it. Some listeners emerged from her room with tears in their eyes, visibly moved by her account of unconditional love and forgiveness. Others left with furrowed brows, their worldviews challenged and their minds grappling with concepts that defied easy categorization. Yet, almost universally, there was a sense that something profound had transpired in that hospital room. Perhaps the most striking impact of Velma's experience was the wave of hope and healing it inspired. Terminally ill patients found renewed strength to face their final days with dignity and peace. Family members locked in old grudges began to reach out to one another, inspired by Velma's message of forgiveness. Even some of the medical staff, hardened by years of confronting mortality, found themselves reconsidering their perspectives on life, death, and the human spirit. As Velma's story continued to touch lives within the hospital, it began to attract attention from beyond its walls. Local news outlets caught wind of the miracle patient who had returned from death with a message of hope. Reporters began to gather outside the hospital, eager to uncover more details about this extraordinary case. The media's interest added a new layer of complexity to Velma's experience, raising questions about how such a deeply personal and spiritual journey would translate in the public eye. Amidst the growing media frenzy, another group began to take notice of Velma's case. Scientists and researchers, intrigued by the implications of her experience, started to reach out to the hospital. Their interest signaled the beginning of a new chapter in Velma's journey, one that would bring her face to face with those seeking to understand the boundaries of consciousness and the nature of reality itself. The arrival of scientists at Velma's bedside marked the beginning of an extraordinary investigation. As they prepared to scrutinize her account, little did they know that their own beliefs about the nature of reality were about to be put to the test. What would happen when the immovable object of scientific skepticism met the unstoppable force of Velma's inexplicable experience? Initially, the researchers approached Velma's case with a healthy dose of skepticism. Her revival after 17 hours of clinical death defied established medical understanding, and the scientists were determined to uncover a rational explanation. They embarked on a series of rigorous medical and psychological evaluations, expecting to find evidence of severe brain damage or cognitive impairment. To their astonishment, Velma answered questions with remarkable clarity and accuracy. She showed no signs of confusion or disorientation, a fact that challenged everything the medical team thought they knew about prolonged oxygen deprivation and its effects on the brain. As they delved deeper into their assessments, the researchers found themselves faced with a perplexing paradox. A patient who, by all medical standards, should have suffered irreversible brain damage, yet displayed full cognitive function. Velma's vivid recollections of her experience during those 17 hours further challenged scientific norms. She described with precision the actions of medical staff and family members during her clinical death, recounting details she couldn't possibly have known through conventional means. These clear memories sparked intense debates among the researchers about the nature of consciousness and its relationship to brain activity. As the investigation progressed, conflicting theories emerged to explain Velma's experience. Some researchers suggested that her vivid recollections might be a manifestation of residual brain activity in its final moments, a last gasp of neural firing creating the illusion of consciousness. Others posited that Velma's account could be evidence of a genuine near-death experience, challenging the very foundations of our understanding of life and death. The tension among the scientific team grew as they grappled with these competing explanations. Each new piece of data seemed to raise more questions than answers, pushing the boundaries of what they thought possible. Some researchers clung steadfastly to materialist explanations, while others found their views on consciousness evolving in the face of Velma's compelling testimony. As the investigation unfolded, a remarkable shift began to occur. Some of the initially skeptical researchers found their perspectives changing. They began to acknowledge that Velma's experience, while defying current scientific understanding, demanded serious consideration. The rigorous process of examining her case had opened their minds to possibilities they had never before entertained. Inspired by Velma's extraordinary account, new research initiatives began to take shape. Scientists from various disciplines came together to explore the frontiers of consciousness studies, near-death experiences, and the potential for human awareness beyond clinical death. Velma's case had become a catalyst for pushing the boundaries of scientific inquiry into realms once considered purely spiritual or supernatural. As the scientific community grappled with the implications of Velma's experience, she herself was undergoing a profound personal transformation. The woman who emerged from those 17 hours of clinical death was forever changed, her perspective on life and reality fundamentally altered. Little did she know that her journey of self-discovery was just beginning, and that her message would soon reach far beyond the walls of the hospital. Velma Thomas emerged from her near-death experience profoundly changed, carrying with her a renewed sense of purpose and an unshakable clarity about life's true meaning. The woman who had once been content with her quiet existence in West Virginia now felt compelled to share the profound insights she had gained during her journey beyond death. Her relationships with family and friends deepened in ways she could never have imagined. Velma spent countless hours with her son Tim and her grandchildren, emphasizing the preciousness of every moment they shared. "Life is so fragile," she would often say, her eyes brimming with emotion. "Don't let a single day go by without telling the people you love how much they mean to you." This newfound appreciation for life's fleeting nature extended to all her relationships. Old grievances were forgiven, and long-standing tensions melted away in the face of Velma's radiant love and compassion. Friends and acquaintances alike noticed the change in her, drawn to the aura of peace and understanding that seemed to surround her. As news of Velma's extraordinary experience spread, she felt an increasingly urgent need to share her message with a wider audience. What had started as quiet conversations with family and hospital staff soon grew into something much larger. Local churches and community centers began reaching out, inviting Velma to speak about her journey and the insights she had gained. Her first public speaking engagements were small affairs, held in modest church halls and community rooms. Yet even in these humble settings, Velma's words carried a power that left her audience spellbound. People traveled from neighboring towns and even across state lines to hear her speak, drawn by the promise of hope and healing in her message. As word of Velma's talk spread, the demand for her appearances grew exponentially. Her calendar filled with invitations from larger venues, support groups for the grieving, and even medical conferences interested in her unique perspective on life and death. The woman who had once been content with her quiet life now found herself at the center of a growing movement, her words touching hearts and changing lives across the country. The impact of Velma's message on her listeners was profound. Many who came to her talks seeking comfort after losing loved ones found solace in her description of the peace and love she had experienced. Others, struggling with their own mortality or purpose in life, left with a renewed sense of hope and meaning. "If my story can help even one person find peace," Velma often said, "then it's all been worth it." Yet, as her public profile grew, Velma faced the challenge of balancing her new mission with her personal life. She made a conscious effort to carve out time for quiet reflection, often retreating to a nearby lake to pray and contemplate her journey. These moments of solitude helped her stay grounded amidst the whirlwind of attention and allowed her to continually deepen her understanding of the truths she had glimpsed beyond death's door. As Velma's influence continued to grow, it became clear that her experience was more than just a personal transformation. Her journey from death to life had become a testament to the power of resilience, faith, and love, reshaping not only her own existence, but the lives of countless others. The ripples of her message were spreading far beyond her small West Virginia town, touching hearts and minds across the nation and raising profound questions about the nature of consciousness, reality, and what truly lies beyond the veil of death. The ripples of Velma Thomas's near-death experience began to extend far beyond the confines of her hospital room, reaching into the realms of both science and spirituality. Her extraordinary account caught the attention of researchers studying consciousness, who saw in her story a unique opportunity to explore the frontiers of human experience. Velma found herself at the center of a collaboration between neuroscientists, psychologists, and spiritual leaders. Her vivid recollections of the time she spent clinically dead challenged the materialist view of reality that had long dominated scientific discourse. Here was a woman who, by all medical standards, should have suffered irreversible brain damage, yet she returned with crystal-clear memories and profound insights. As Velma shared her experience with researchers, she described a realm of unconditional love and interconnectedness that defied conventional understanding. Her account forced scientists to confront questions they had long avoided. Could consciousness exist independently of the brain? Was there more to reality than what could be measured and observed through traditional scientific methods? The impact of Velma's message reverberated through religious communities as well. Her description of a loving, non-judgmental presence resonated with many spiritual traditions, while also challenging some long-held beliefs. Churches, synagogues, and mosques invited Velma to speak, eager to hear her first-hand account of what lay beyond the veil of death. Philosophical debates sparked by Velma's experience raged in academic circles. Scholars of consciousness studies found themselves revisiting age-old questions about the nature of the self and the possibility of an afterlife. The lines between neuroscience, philosophy, and spirituality began to blur as experts from diverse fields came together to grapple with the implications of Velma's journey. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Velma's story was its ability to bridge diverse belief systems. Skeptics and believers alike found common ground in their fascination with her account. Scientists who had long dismissed near-death experiences as hallucinations found themselves reconsidering their stance, while religious leaders opened themselves to new interpretations of ancient teachings. In the wake of Velma's experience, initiatives began to emerge that sought to integrate spiritual insights into healthcare settings. Hospitals started exploring ways to incorporate holistic approaches that addressed not just the physical needs of patients, but their emotional and spiritual well-being as well. Velma's emphasis on love, forgiveness, and interconnectedness became a touchstone for a new approach to healing that recognized the profound connection between mind, body, and spirit. As Velma's message continued to spread, it became clear that her experience had tapped into something universal. People from all walks of life, regardless of their cultural or religious background, found resonance in her words. The boundaries between science and spirituality, once thought impermeable, began to soften. Velma's journey had become a bridge, connecting diverse ways of understanding the world and offering a glimpse into the mysteries that lie at the heart of human existence. Little did Velma know that her message was about to transcend not just ideological boundaries, but geographical ones as well. As news of her extraordinary experience spread beyond her small West Virginia town, people around the world began to take notice. The next chapter of Velma's journey would see her simple yet profound message touching hearts and minds across continents, challenging cultural norms and offering hope to those grappling with life's deepest questions. Velma Thomas's story, once confined to a small West Virginia town, began to captivate hearts and minds across the globe. Her account of a journey beyond death resonated with people from all walks of life, transcending cultural and linguistic barriers. As news of her extraordinary experience spread, Velma found herself at the center of an international phenomenon. Velma's book, detailing her near-death experience and the profound insights she gained, became a worldwide bestseller. Translated into dozens of languages, from Mandarin to Arabic, her words reached millions of readers across continents. In Japan, where discussions of death are often considered taboo, Velma's story opened new avenues for conversations about mortality and the afterlife. In India, her description of a realm of pure love and interconnectedness found parallels in ancient spiritual traditions. As Velma's message spread, she received invitations to speak in countries far from her humble beginnings. From crowded auditoriums in London to intimate gatherings in rural villages in Africa, Velma shared her experience with a diverse array of audiences. In each place, she found that her story touched something universal in the human experience. In Brazil, where spiritualism has deep roots, Velma's account was embraced as further evidence of the soul's journey. In secular Sweden, her experience sparked renewed interest in questions of consciousness and the nature of reality. Even in cultures with vastly different beliefs about death and the afterlife, people found comfort and inspiration in Velma's message of love and forgiveness. As Velma traveled the world, she noticed a common thread emerging in the reactions to her story. Whether speaking to a group of scientists in Germany or spiritual seekers in Bali, she found that certain elements of her experience resonated across all cultural boundaries. The overwhelming sense of peace and unconditional love she described struck a chord with people everywhere, regardless of their background or beliefs. Perhaps the most profound impact of Velma's global reach was the way her story bridged divides between different faiths and philosophies. In Jerusalem, she spoke to an audience that included Jews, Muslims, and Christians, all united in their fascination with her account. In Hong Kong, Buddhists and Taoists found common ground in discussing the implications of Velma's journey. Support groups inspired by Velma's experience began to form around the world. From bustling cities to remote villages, people gathered to share their own stories of near-death experiences or to find comfort in the face of loss. These groups became sanctuaries of hope and healing, where individuals could explore life's deepest questions in a supportive environment. As Velma's message continued to spread, it became clear that her experience had tapped into something truly universal. Her journey beyond death had become a bridge, connecting people across vast distances and diverse cultures. The impact of her story extended far beyond mere curiosity about the afterlife. It was changing how people lived their lives, inspiring greater compassion, forgiveness, and appreciation for the present moment. As Velma reflected on the global phenomenon her experience had become, she marveled at the unexpected turns her life had taken. From a grandmother in West Virginia to a messenger of hope for millions around the world, her journey was far from over. The ripples of her 17-hour absence continued to spread, touching lives and challenging perceptions of reality on a scale she could never have imagined. Years after her extraordinary journey, Velma Thomas's experience continued to reverberate through the world, touching lives and challenging perceptions of reality. Her story, once confined to a small West Virginia town, had become a beacon of hope for millions around the globe. People from all walks of life found solace and inspiration in Velma's account of her time beyond the veil of death. In hospitals and hospices, Velma's book became a source of comfort for those facing their own mortality or grieving the loss of loved ones. Her words offered a glimpse into a realm of peace and unconditional love, easing fears and providing a sense of continuity beyond physical existence. Support groups inspired by her experience continued to flourish, creating safe spaces for individuals to explore life's deepest questions and find healing in shared understanding. The scientific community, initially skeptical of Velma's claims, found itself grappling with the implications of her experience. Ongoing studies into consciousness and near-death experiences drew inspiration from her case, pushing the boundaries of our understanding of the human mind and its potential. Researchers from diverse fields, neuroscience, psychology, and quantum physics, collaborated in unprecedented ways, seeking to unravel the mysteries Velma's journey had illuminated. As time passed, Velma's message evolved, deepening with her own continued reflections and insights. She often spoke of the interconnectedness of all beings, emphasizing the profound impact of love and forgiveness in our daily lives. "I was sent back for a reason," Velma would say, her voice filled with quiet conviction. "There's a message I need to share. We're all part of something greater than ourselves, and every act of kindness ripples through the fabric of existence." Velma's ongoing journey of self-discovery led to new revelations that both fascinated and challenged her growing audience. She spoke of glimpsing future events during her time beyond, hinting at a cosmic plan unfolding beyond our limited perception. These insights sparked intense debates among philosophers and theologians, challenging long-held beliefs about free will and destiny. Perhaps the most profound impact of Velma's experience was the gradual shift in societal views on death. Her story had opened a door to conversations once considered taboo, encouraging people to approach mortality with curiosity rather than fear. Across cultures, death began to be seen not as an end, but as a transition, a perspective that brought comfort to many and transformed approaches to end-of-life care. Reflecting on her journey years later, Velma remained humble, often stating, "This isn't about me, it's about the message. I'm just the messenger." She marveled at the unexpected turns her life had taken, from a quiet grandmother to a global spiritual icon. Yet she never lost sight of the core truth she had glimpsed beyond death's door, the paramount importance of love and compassion in our brief time on Earth. As Velma's influence continued to grow, it became clear that her experience had implications far beyond individual comfort or scientific curiosity. Her journey had become a catalyst for a broader re-examination of human existence, challenging us to consider our place in a vast and mysterious universe. The questions raised by her 17-hour absence echoed through time, inviting humanity to expand its understanding of consciousness, reality, and the very nature of existence itself. In the wake of Velma Thomas's extraordinary journey, the boundaries of our understanding of reality have been irrevocably challenged. Her experience, defying conventional medical knowledge, has opened a gateway to unexplored realms of consciousness. Scientists and spiritualists alike find themselves grappling with questions that push beyond the limits of current comprehension. The quest to unravel the mysteries of consciousness has gained new momentum in light of Velma's account. Researchers from diverse fields are now collaborating in unprecedented ways, seeking to bridge the gap between the measurable physical world and the intangible realm Velma described. Neuroscientists are exploring the possibility that consciousness might exist independently of brain function, while quantum physicists ponder the implications of non-local awareness. As we stand on the brink of potential breakthroughs, the possibilities seem endless. Future discoveries inspired by experiences like Velma's could revolutionize our understanding of life, death, and the nature of reality itself. Some scientists speculate about the existence of parallel universes or hidden dimensions that might explain near-death experiences. Others propose that consciousness could be a fundamental property of the universe, as intrinsic as gravity or electromagnetism. Yet for every answer uncovered, new questions arise. How does individual consciousness relate to a larger universal awareness? Can the profound sense of love and interconnectedness reported in near-death experiences be quantified or replicated? These unanswered questions create a palpable sense of anticipation in both scientific and spiritual communities, driving further exploration and contemplation. Velma's journey invites us to expand our worldview beyond the confines of materialist thinking. As she often says, life and death, it's all part of something much bigger than we can imagine. Her experience challenges us to consider that our current understanding of reality might be just the tip of an unfathomable iceberg. It encourages us to approach the unknown with humility and wonder, recognizing that there may be aspects of existence that transcend our current ability to measure or define. Perhaps the most profound aspect of Velma's message is the enduring power of love and connection. Throughout her recollections, she emphasizes the overwhelming sense of unconditional love she experienced. This universal theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, suggesting that at the core of existence lies a unifying force of compassion and interconnectedness. As we contemplate the nature of existence in light of Velma's extraordinary account, we find ourselves standing at the threshold of a new frontier. Her experience serves as a bridge between the known and the unknown, challenging us to expand our understanding of what it means to be conscious, to be alive, and to be part of the vast tapestry of existence. The journey of discovery that Velma's story has inspired is far from over. It continues to unfold, inviting each of us to explore the depths of consciousness and the boundless possibilities that lie beyond our current understanding. Velma Thomas's extraordinary journey challenges our fundamental understanding of life and death, inviting us to reconsider the very nature of existence. Her experience illuminates a realm beyond our physical world, where love and interconnectedness reign supreme. It forces us to confront the possibility that consciousness may transcend the boundaries of our corporeal form, persisting even when medical science declares life has ended. The transformative power of Velma's message lies in its emphasis on love as the ultimate force in the universe. Her words echo through time. I came back because there's more to do. Love is what matters. It's what connects us. Everything else, fear, anger, regret, it doesn't matter in the end. This profound revelation serves as a beacon, guiding us towards a more compassionate and interconnected way of living. As we reflect on Velma's journey, we are compelled to examine our own beliefs and purpose. Her story challenges us to look beyond the mundane concerns of daily life and consider our place in a vast, mysterious universe. It prompts us to ask, what truly matters in the grand scheme of existence? How can we cultivate more love and forgiveness in our lives? Velma's experience serves as a powerful reminder that life is a precious gift, one that should be cherished and lived with intention and purpose.